DC the beat man. DC the beat man.
So epic.
What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Trent, as usual. Hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. And as you can see, we got my girl Naomi on the screen now. Naomi, how's everything with you?
Hello, I'm doing great. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. I gotta say that is the cleanest background I have seen on the screen thus far outside of mine. Like that is smooth, bro. Like, hey, I might have
here. We're take care of some adult business here, and we're chilling in the free time while we're doing so.
I appreciate you for sharing a little time. I appreciate you. So look, y'all see the shirt. Let me stand up right quick. Y'all see the shirt, so we're gonna slide on into it. The Final Four. Now, I didn't go to the women's Final Four, and I'm kind of disappointed because I feel like it was better than the men's Final Four. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, Naomi?
So I'm gonna be a little biased. I thought they were both great, but I had a personal stake in the men's side.
So
and you always go here, and I was really gonna try to make sure we avoided this. But yes, I will agree as far as viewership and as far as thinking from the outside, looking at it from a different perspective, definitely. I would say the audiences are starting to shift a lot more because women's sports for a long time was way too consistent in regards to who was doing what, and now it's done a complete 360 to where we're seeing completely different types of teams and completely different teams excelling. So, I mean, and plus the girls are getting buckets, like, maybe the hype when it comes to WNBA and NBA, is still in question. But as far as college to college, sex versus sex, girls have been getting buckets. Like, anybody who doesn't agree with that is, I would question their basketball IQ. But
funny enough, I do know somebody who questions the WNBA players, really women hoopers, I think, in general. And I try to tell them all the time, like, yo, they
it's a whole nother, you gotta have to either have wanted to play and especially have played to really to really just be able to see, and a lot of NBA players would say this too, to really see like the beauty and the physicality and the skill of watching women play, especially considering we're not as athletic as men, so we're missing a lot of the glamour and the glitz in the game, but the fundamentals that are presented and the way it goes, it's crazy. For the men, my squad did what they had to do, so I was tuned in for it all.
I guess. I let you have your flowers about your UConn Huskies. Y'all know I'm a Blue Devils fan, so we gotta not let her talk too much about UConn. We gotta say, yeah. I'm not being petty with it, but I'm just being honest. Nah, but for real, on the women's side though, I was actually surprised the Final Four looked like this. I didn't know Iowa was gonna get there, right? Like LSU wasn't a guarantee. But let's talk about these teams though. What was your thoughts on VTech? Because they were the number one seed, right? Or a number one seed, not the number one seed. They were the number 2 seed in the ACC. 31-5 record. Notre Dame was a 3 seed, even though they won the ACC. Questionable, but they ended up, losing to LSU by 7 points. Last time I checked, Iowa, they lost by 17, 14. Like it was a dog walk. So it might have been the championship game between VTech and LSU. What's your thoughts on VTech? Is that accurate to say or no?
So I'm a little, I don't know if my opinion would have a heavy weight. I didn't watch a lot of VTech's season.
I'll say this, I didn't necessarily watch VTech either. I barely watched the Duke women. It was mainly Duke, UConn, South Carolina. Like those are the teams that I watched, and even then it was like occasionally because I fell off on college this year. When when my boys is out of it, it's tough to really be engaged like that. I ain't gonna
Get it?
hold. I ain't gonna hold
Get
you.
it?
But like B Tech did seem like they were starter reliant. Like they go about 6, 7 deep maybe, but I saw like a solid 6 players start again or play against
I wouldn't
LSU.
even say
So
that. Once they got to the nitty gritty games, they're big. Caitlin, whatever her last name is, and then their guard. I mean, they just didn't have a well-rounded team where so everybody was contributing to a almost equal portion or somewhere where they could pick up slack if they were hurting. I think that worked so much in LSU's favor because they just had so much depth in comparison to the teams that ended up making it.
yeah, I think that definitely
situation,
helped.
I thought it was a toss up. I wasn't surprised that they lost. I don't feel like they probably hadn't seen anything like that as far as gameplay until they got to the Final Four. They play well, they play well. So shouts to them. But
yeah, no, I looked at the game against LSU. Like I said, that could have been the championship game. You lose by 7 points, so you can make a case for that. But I also think too, again, they look like they go 6 deep, and that 6th person didn't really get too much PT. And you got to really be hitting on all cylinders with your starting 5. And that game they did not. I think if I forget the girl's name who didn't necessarily play up to par, quote unquote, but she only scored like 4 points. I think they might have gotten foul trouble. If that changes, maybe they beat LSU, so maybe they could have beaten Iowa. But you only have 4 players. We've seen teams get into foul trouble, trying to go at Caitlin Clark. So maybe that similar thing happened. It was interesting, long story short, but with how Virginia Tech got into the Final Four and did kind of perform. So, I mean, next year I might want to look at them a little bit more because I think they're returning a few players back. So I would like to think they can still build upon that and make something change.
what do you mean as far as that game could have been the championship?
So when I say that Iowa versus LSU, right? It was a 17-point deficit.
Right.
Because LSU won the game, I'm looking at LSU versus Virginia Tech in comparison and saying, okay, maybe that was the championship deciding game. Because if Virginia Tech only lost by 7, maybe they can beat Iowa by like 10. Now I know you can't necessarily say, oh, that's exactly how it's going to go, because again, you can get into foul trouble and then that throws off your dynamic. But based on how that game appeared to have gone, maybe Virginia Tech had enough talent to get over the hump over the Caitlin Clark. I
think Virginia Tech versus Iowa would have worked 1,000 times more in Iowa's favor. I think Caitlin didn't have the stamina to go against an LSU starting 5 and bench the way she would have needed to produce in order to win that game versus having to go through a Virginia Tech starting 5 and maybe a 6th player. Her starting 5 and her bench can contribute just enough for the game that she had versus Virginia Tech to have been a completely better championship. But their uphill climb and then having to face the likes of LSU as their final challenge, I just didn't see. I was going to be super surprised if she could have pulled something out to be able to get around that. They just had too many weapons versus, probably an extremely fatigued Caitlin Clark and, her couple assets that she has. And if she's not onto a good game, it completely throws down the dynamic of her assets as well. Her big players, her perimeter shooters, any of that. If she's not having a good game, none of that can get started. So I was honestly surprised that LSU let them put up 80 points. I kind of stopped. I kind of started falling asleep more and more every time I saw LSU pull away, and then I would kind of like.
If you have a decent enough cushion, I don't think it really matters how many points the other team is really putting up. Right. Personally, I know if I'm throwing up, if I got a nice solid lead and we keep scoring and y'all keep scoring, I know you're not going to win then, so it doesn't matter, I guess. So now the team that I'm really curious about next season, South Carolina, because again, next year I think it could be interesting because apparently their bench could also win a national championship too. So, what's your thoughts on South Carolina? Was it weird how they lost? Because it almost seemed like no, it wasn't almost. Iowa really just said, "Yo, go ahead and shoot. Like we'll let you shoot it," and they just couldn't capitalize, which is kind of wild. Because when I read the scouting, you read the scouting reports about Aaliyah Boston, you've seen the game. I'm expecting, a decent little shot. You see the team, they've hit shots before, like elite shooters, but to miss open like that the entire game, I don't know. It's weird to me.
Yeah, and for me, granted, I'm not in college. I don't play college
Yeah.
judge, but I feel like from maybe a coach's perspective, you gotta have a shooter. Now, Zaya Cook was doing her thing, so she was hooping. She was doing what she had to do, but it just would have been so much more beneficial if Zaya Cook could have just had one guaranteed, just one like 50%, 60% option for kickout purposes. That would have completely just changed the entire game because I don't know what Iowa had going on, but they were disrupting the big play, and that's South Carolina's reputation is big play, and then their defense that puts up 70-80 points a game for them considering their boards. So
but the issue was they couldn't make the shot, so they were just clogging. Like Iowa was clogging the paint.
You're not going to trade with any team threes for twos for too long before that starts to bite you in the butt. And to have the ability to get threes open, you just have to have that. You just have to have that force on the floor to give you a chance for in situations where your bigs. I mean, I thought it was absolutely mind-boggling that they were producing far better with Aaliyah Boston off the floor. That completely took me for a win.
I mean, I think when you have Aaliyah Boston off the floor, other players have to try harder because now there's a gap. So like normally let's say your star player's on the floor, you understand your role, but as soon as they're off, your role changes. Now you have to do more because they're off the floor. So I can understand sometimes why teams look better than if they're with their star player off. I was very intrigued because, like you said, it is tough to go back and forth when you're going threes and twos. Except my philosophy is this though: threes don't always they don't keep raining, So like eventually they're going to stop. And I thought South Carolina could wear Iowa down, so I was very surprised that they weren't able to capitalize on some moments that I thought they could have to really kind of demoralize Iowa, because Iowa I felt like always had confidence. Like Caitlin hits a bucket.
It was like blacked out. They went in that game. I think that underdog mentality really just it did something for them. But it was for me, that was unfortunate for that to have been their Final Four game, in my opinion. That's how, because I feel like even though they lost, as far as physicality and excitement and of the game, I would have considered that or the VTech, both those Final Four games vastly better than watching the championship.
Interesting. Let me ask you this then. I understand, LSU again won the championship. Shout out to them. I'm not trying to discredit them at all. Do you feel like if they played South Carolina, would they have won? They meaning LSU.
LSU's game versus how they played Iowa and South Carolina's game versus how they played Iowa, I think LSU would have beat them. However,
I'm about to say, didn't they have a matchup?
The matchup difference is it eventually that would have been a grit fight, and I think South Carolina would have got the better of that one because I'm thinking about this in this way. You got Aaliyah Boston in the middle, and then you have their other tall girl whose name I cannot think of, and I'm pretty sure she entered the draft. She's real Sardosa. I know I'm saying it wrong. their other big girl.
You said
It's
Cardoso.
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 Her. You got those two bigs right in your center. How does LSU match up to that with with Angel Reese? They're gonna have to have a whole lot more perimeter.
Well,
LSU
hold on.
Amazing.
You said how do they? You said how do they? I could have sworn they played in the regular season. So we had
Victoria Saxton too.
Yeah, we had South Carolina dog walking LSU. Come on, little fella. Like that's tough. 88-64. That's
a month before the final, the March Madness tournament starts. So this isn't like beginning of the season. We're just getting our feet wet.
Yeah,
this is like we're deep in.
Now,
so we've got Bria Bill, we've got Victoria Saxton, keep going. We've got Aaliyah Boston, keep going. I mean, these are solid bigs that Don Saley puts confidence in to give Aaliyah Boston a break. So we're saying 4 or 5 solid bigs coming in to give support to Aaliyah Boston with their few perimeter players. I mean, the matchup there is just different. And then you've got the defense of Zaya Cook on whomever is, points.
I think it would have been interesting. I think it would have been interesting to see.
I think it would have been a better game, obviously, but I
don't know about a better game. I don't know about a better game. Here's the reason why I say that. The drama that took place from that game was actually a lot better than what drama could have occurred between LSU and South Carolina. This was a redemption game, but like I think from a basketball perspective, I don't even know if I want to say it could have been a better game too. Because again, watching Caitlin Clark on that stage, you seeing Angel Reese, I think you kind of now have a quote unquote villain for college basketball, which I think she's okay with being. Like she doesn't care, it seems like. So I appreciate that. I think this game was very phenomenal, and that actually that does transition on into the next section.
This was awesome. Thank you for having me. Always with it. Always about it. I hope people enjoy the conversation and have similar or maybe even opposing views. And I also hope that I didn't inherently or without knowing disrespect any player, because
it is what it is.
As a fan.
It is what it is. If so, that just means they got to change their opinion. It is what it is. They can treat it with a grain of salt.
I did not know you guys were still here. As you can see, we're at the back end of the show. No pun intended, but look, hope you all enjoyed it. And before you go, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the IG account, share the content to anybody who's anybody. And most importantly, leave your thoughts and comments below. But I got to go back and play Buddy in 2K, so let me unmute him real quick. Excuse me. Hey, boss, I'm back. Nah, you better catch this word. We get buckets around here, too.